first tip I call Take Two. Deciding to dedicate an hour to a task can often appear daunting. If motivation is low and the task is unappealing, we are much more likely to delay. However, by deciding to spend a shorter period of time on the task, we can actually raise our levels of motivation. Say we want to increase the number of books we read, but we're not sure if we can sit down and remain focused for an hour. If we dedicated 2 minutes to reading a few pages, the task becomes more manageable, and chances are we'll find that 2 minutes turns into 4 and 6 and so on. Getting started on the task is often the most difficult part, but once we do begin, there is a greater likelihood that we'll continue. Okay, second, keep temptation out of sight and reduce distractions. Procrastination is linked to our self-control, so we need to look at how we remain focused for longer. If people keep snacks in a drawer rather than on their desk, they are much less likely to give in to temptation. A sparse desk is therefore more conducive to self-control. Phones, fidget spinners, and even felt-tip pens and highlighters can distract. Keep your workspace clear and uncluttered, your phone out of reach, and log out of all your social media accounts. Number 3. Set bright lines.
Don't cross this line!
A bright line is a clearly defined rule or standard. They are unambiguous and give us very little room for manoeuvre. If, for example, your goal is to drink less alcohol, you can set a bright line as I will only have 2 alcoholic drinks per day. If you're hoping to curtail your internet use, you could declare I will only go on social media between 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. Bright lines empower us, especially if they deal with behaviours we feel are controlling us. A bright line can relate to time, I'll complete this task at 2 p.m, or place, as soon as I get to work, I'll crack on with the task. Number 4. Confront your fear of failure. According to Dr. Fuchsia Sirowa, a psychologist at the University of Sheffield, procrastination also occurs in the presence of negative emotions, such as fear of not being able to complete the task or failing to achieve it in some other way. Sirowa suggests that by balancing out these negative emotions, such as I'm going to fail at this task, with constructive positive ones, such as there's no reason why I should fail, but if I do, I have the personal resources to bounce back and try again, we reduce the possibility of procrastination. But overcoming procrastination is also concerned with changing our attitude to the task itself, especially if the task involves some kind of academic endeavour. Changing our view of potential setbacks and seeing failure and struggle as necessary can also help us engage with more difficult tasks. Number 5. Adjust the way time is viewed.
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
There is a tendency for people to categorise time as either present or future, and this can have a very curious effect on how we deal with goals and objectives. If a deadline is in the present, for example, our essay needs handing in by 4 p.m. tomorrow, we tend to start it sooner. However, if the deadline is further away, say next week, we think of it in terms of the future and mentally place it into the someday box. The way we categorise time is both inaccurate and illogical. For example, if a deadline crosses a calendar year, we tend to place the activity in the future box, even if it's the last week in December and the deadline is the first week in January. But if the activity deadline is in the same calendar year, we place it in the present category. We may still have the same amount of time to complete the task, but because the deadline spans a calendar year, we think about it differently. Similarly, a Wednesday deadline given on a Monday is treated differently to a Monday deadline given on a Friday, because Monday becomes next week, regardless of where we currently are in time. To circumvent this curious cognitive dilemma, deadlines can be brought back into the present by setting tighter deadlines. In all probability, many of us procrastinate until the last minute anyway, so bringing deadlines forward shouldn't make too much of a difference. Okay, bonus tip. Decide if the task really needs doing in the first place. There is a tendency to prioritise the tasks we need to do, but the way we do this can often betray our tendency to procrastinate. In other words, we often place the task that will instantly gratify higher up on the list, even if they are less important. More tellingly, perhaps, we may even include tasks that don't really need doing at all. Being faced with a long to-do list can reduce motivation, so get rid of the things that really don't need to be there, things that don't get us any closer to achieving our goal. So, that's it. What are you waiting for? Go do something.